On July 21, 2026, the head of South Africa's most powerful anti-corruption agency sat on the witness stand and uttered a statement that sent shockwaves through the judicial establishment. Advocate Andrea Johnson, the director of the investigating Directorate against Corruption, IDAC, confirmed that the National Prosecuting Authority was officially deciding whether to prosecute her. Then came the ultimate legal bombshell. She formally invoked her constitutional right against self-incrimination. Think about the irony. The individual appointed by the president to spearhead the nation's fight against state capture and high-level graft is now facing potential criminal charges over allegations that she leaked confidential police dockets to an embattled crime intelligence boss. How did one of the NPA's most celebrated legal gladiators end up tangled in the very web of police corruption that she was assigned to destroy? And is advocate Andrea Johnson still fit to lead IDAC? This is the story of Andrea Johnson, Feroz Khan, and the crisis at the Madlanga Commission. Hello, South African news and story lovers. Welcome to Narrate, and I am your host, the storytelling lawyer, Steve Mack. This is where we narrate, document, explore, and dissect stories that matter to all of us. A home for all lovers of South African authentic stories and documentaries. Let's begin. To understand the gravity of this moment, you have to look at who Andrea Johnson was before the Madlanga Commission. For over 2 decades, Johnson built an unshakable reputation as one of the National Prosecuting Authority's most formidable legal minds. She wasn't an armchair administrator. She was a court-tested trial lawyer, dubbed by the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Julius Malema, as the nowadays Winnie Madikizela Mandela. By 2024, Parliament permanently institutionalized her unit as the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption, IDAC, equipping it with the statutory policing powers. Andrea Johnson was handed the keys to the premium anti-corruption body in Africa. But behind the scenes, an old relationship was about to implode her career. Enter Major General Feroz Khan, the suspended deputy head of crime intelligence, who has found himself at the center of the Madlanga Commission's investigations. In July 2026, a retired Hawks Colonel took the stand at the Commission and dropped a devastating accusation. The Colonel testified that back in July 2018, when Johnson was a senior prosecutor, she allegedly used an off-the-grid private Gmail account to leak sensitive criminal case information to Khan. The files included an assault docket, witness statements, a J88 medical report, and an audio recording involving an investigation into Khan himself. The colonel told the commission that the exchange was deeply irregular, arguing that if the request was above board, official NPA email channels would have been used. Under oath on July 21, Johnson acknowledged her long-standing relationship with Khan. She described him as an affable and admitted attending his 50th birthday party because her husband was also a crime intelligence officer. While she maintained their interactions were professional and cordial, her version of whether she shared confidential files shifted, admitting her memory was only refreshed after watching commission proceedings. The relationship reportedly fractured after the high-profile March 2023 assassination of the liquidator Murray and his son Thomas. Johnson revealed to the commission that Murray's surviving son came to her office in tears, alleging that senior police officers, including Khan, were actively obstructing the murder investigation. Johnson claimed she subsequently confronted Khan at a public workshop and distanced herself from him. By then, the paper trail was already written. The crisis reached a breaking point in mid-July 2026. Scheduled to testify on July 13, Johnson was suddenly rushed to the hospital following a medical emergency, forcing Justice Mbuyiseni Madlanga to temporarily adjourn proceedings while questioning the medical certificate submitted. 8 days later, on July 21, a recovered Johnson finally walked into the hearing. What followed was a stunning moment of legal self-preservation. During her testimony, Johnson passionately defended IDAC's investigation into crime intelligence, insisting that the unit's finding pointed directly to broader state capture and defeating the ends of justice. But her insistence that IDAC was fighting state capture was completely overshadowed by her own vulnerability. The head of the country's elite anti-corruption unit was effectively telling the nation that answering certain questions about her interactions with a crime intelligence boss might land her in a criminal dock.
On those matters, should I be called upon to, I will exercise my right not to incriminate myself under Section 35(3)(j) of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, read with Section 3(4) of the Commissions Act of 1947. These instruments guarantee my right against self-incrimination. Paragraph 9. I hold the view that the Commission's fact-finding mandate does not override my constitutional protection against self-incrimination under any circumstances. For these reasons, this affidavit is submitted to place my position in regard to the testimony of the witnesses identified above, formally before the Commission.
This brings us to the defining structural question: is Advocate Andrea Johnson fit to remain the head of the IDAC? Under South African law, every citizen enjoys the presumption of innocence and the right against self-incrimination. But the head of an elite anti-corruption directorate is not just an ordinary citizen. They are the custodian of public trust. The Office of the IDAC Oversight Judge has confirmed it is actively reviewing formal complaints against her. If the National Prosecuting Authority decides to formally prosecute Andrea Johnson, her position becomes completely untenable. But even if the NPA declines to prosecute, the structural damage is already done. How can an agency credibility investigate leaks, political interference, and docket manipulation when its own leader admitted under oath that her memory of sharing confidential files had to be refreshed by a public inquiry? South Africa's fight against corruption cannot afford a compromised vanguard. The story of Andrea Johnson is a sobering reminder that in the shalled world of state intelligence and law enforcement, the lines between those who enforce the law and those who breach it can become dangerously blurred. And until the NPA makes its decision, the credibility of South Africa's premier anti-corruption unit hangs by a single thread.